Hello, everyone, and welcome to my 2026 NFL Playoff Predictions. I am filming this on the day of the first two wild card games, so this might come out during Panthers and Rams. So hopefully it gets out before that game ends, so it doesn't look like I picked the. I'm just gonna throw this as an example: the Panthers to win. They actually won the game. Um, that's not my pick for that game, by the way. So, um, let's get the playoff predictions started. But first, let me turn down my TV. Excuse me. All right, that's better. Now I can actually focus. So, first game we have is the Panthers and the Rams, and these two teams met earlier in the season in Carolina, and the Panthers upset the Rams 31-28. Picked off Stafford a couple of times. There was a game-losing fumble by Stafford that was forced by Derek Brown, and yeah, that was a really fun game. And this is the first playoff game for many Carolina Panthers um, on this team. So this is going to be very interesting. For hold on a second, I just did something. Oh, okay, here we go. So this is going to be a very interesting test for the Panthers, um, because a lot of their players currently have never played in a postseason game with Carolina. Um, some players have postseason experience with other teams on their team, like Trayvon Merrick, Rico Dowdle, I believe DJ Wanham's played in playoff games. Tershawn Wharton, I believe they have. Pat Jones has, but he's hurt. Um, so they have guys who they can lean on to tell them about the playoffs and give them, the players who have never played in the postseason game, a little bit of a preview or a visual of what it's like. But then you got the Rams, who have been one of the best teams all year, although they kind of fumbled the division away late in the season. That's why they're the 5 seed and probably will not host a playoff game. Um, they still have a ton of their players from their Super Bowl championship, which is what, 4, 5 seasons ago now? 5, I think. Yeah, 5. That's crazy to say. But they still have a ton of guys from that team. They still have Matthew Stafford. Tyler Higbee was on that team. I know he's hurt, but Rob Havenstein was on that team. Oh, actually, maybe not. Maybe there's not as many people on that team or on the Super Bowl team that's still with the Rams as I thought, but they still built a very good team that they can go to battle with. That defense is really good. Cameron Curl has been really good on the back end, as well as Cameron Kinchins. Kobe Durant had a great year. And then the defensive line, Kobe Turner's been amazing. Jared Verse has been amazing. Braden Fisk has been good. I'm forgetting somebody else. Oh, Nate Landman, the linebacker, he's been amazing up the middle. This Rams defense is really good. And then you got the offense where you got Stafford, who's playing at MVP level. You got Kyron, you got Blake Corum, and then Devontae and Puka. This Rams team's really good. They have more, I would say, star players than the Panthers do, because the Panthers, they're still a young team and they're still building up their guys. Like I'd say the Panthers stars would be Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Teteroa McMillan, um, and then on the defensive side, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, Christian Roseboom. Like their secondary, I think Carolina's secondary is the strongest point of the team, but I just think if the Panthers can do what they did defensively again against the Rams and offensively, because in a way they played a perfect game against the Rams to beat them. If they can do that again, they win. They will win this game. Do I think that will happen? No. I don't think Matthew Stafford will have that performance again like he did the first time against Carolina. I think he'll make up for it, and the Rams will beat the Panthers and move on to the divisional round. Now we'll go to the second game, where I think is going to be a very low scoring, very close, very intriguing game. You got the Eagles hosting the 49ers. And the Eagles, obviously their offense hasn't been the same to what it was when they won the Super Bowl last year. The defense, though, has been just as good. And they've still found a way to win the NFC East. They've still found a way to be a top 3 seed in the NFC. It just has been a lot different of a look as a team compared to what they were 1 year ago. And the 49ers, they're back. They're still ravaged by injury, but they're back into the playoffs. Brock Purdy's been playing really well as of late. Still got Kittle, still got CMC. Hopefully the offensive line gets healed up with Trent Williams coming back. At least I think he's coming back. But the defense has just been ravaged. Fred Warner is out for the season. Nick Bosa is out for the season. They've lost so many starters to injuries, and guys have stepped up in their places. I can think of Tatum Bethune. He's stepped up. Upton Stout has stepped up. Malik Mustafa. Like I can think of guys, those players, they've stepped up in their roles. The rookie Alfred Collins has been really good. And then you got really the only star on the 49ers that stayed healthy the entire season is Diamador Lenore, one of the outside corners. He's their star defensive player. He locked up JSN on Saturday night, where whenever they matched up against him, because they moved JSN around and Lenore stays on one side of the field, JSN didn't have a catch. So when he was facing Lenore. So but I would assume that Diamador Lenore is going to be up against A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and they're going to need a vintage performance from him to help get this win. What my concern about the 49ers is their defense and them playing against a good offense that can turn it on. We know what the Eagles' offense is capable of when they have a good day. The question is are they going to have a good day against the Niners' defense? Because their offense hasn't been the greatest. They're still learning the system from Patullo. Maybe it's not really that good of a system. We'd have to see. But the Eagles, it's going to be a low-scoring game because I think both teams are going to have trouble with the other team's defense. Even though Brock Purdy's been playing great as of late, and that 49ers offense, well, was rolling against the Bears. The Seahawks shut them down. And that's what I think's going to be the determining factor. I know the Eagles' defense is not the Seahawks' defense, but the Eagles' defense is of similar, what's the word? It's a similar style of defense. They're similar capability. They're both really good defenses for Seattle and Philadelphia. And I think because of how injured the 49ers are, that's going to be their downfall. And I think Philly's going to eke out a win against San Francisco on Sunday afternoon. So the Eagles will move on to the divisional round. And they'll face either the Bears or the Packers, as that's the third and final wild card game that's coming up tonight. In Chicago, it should be rocking down there because this is the first time they've hosted a playoff game since the last time they won their division, which was in 2018. So it's been a long, long time coming for the Bears. And this is the third time the Bears have met up with the Packers in 6 weeks, in the last 6 weeks, and it has been amazing. Both games where the Packers won with a game-winning interception at Lambeau in the end zone by Nixon, and then DJ Moore got the game-winning touchdown in overtime in that crazy comeback win down in Chicago. But this game is going to be close. It's going to be a good game. And the Packers, they're kind of in the same spot as the 49ers. They're really, really, really injured. They don't have Micah Parsons, which without Micah Parsons, there is not a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But that's not the only loss that they had on the pass rushing side. I think the real big loss was obviously Micah, but then Devontae Wyatt went down, and that has really, really hurt the Packers team even more as well. They signed Trayvon Diggs, who hopefully will help the secondary, which has been spotty. But they still have Xavier McKinney back there, which is good. At least he stayed healthy for the Packers defense. But their offense has also been really ravaged as well. They're not going to have Wicks tonight. Tucker Kraft is out for the year, of course. Jordan Love's coming back, but he's still a little bit... we'll see if he's still a little bit rusty or not. We'll find out. They still have Josh Jacobs. Emmanuel Wilson stepped up this year. And they're still going to have Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson. And at least I think Christian Watson. And Jaden Reed. So this Packers team, it should be able to compete with the Bears, but my oh my, the Bears built a great team. Ben Johnson's been an absolute revelation in Chicago. Caleb Williams has really stepped up in his second year. DeAndre Swift has had a great year. Kyle Monangai, the rookie running back, has been great. Who else? DJ Moore's had a down year, but it hasn't been that bad. Roma Dunze is going to be coming back tonight for the first time in a few weeks. Hopefully he can look like himself. But Luther Burden has stepped up in his place. And Colston Loveland has really turned a wick up at the end of his rookie season. Still have Cole Kmet, who's reliable as ever. The Bears have a really good offensive line that's led by their four really great offensive linemen. Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson. I think he's playing. I don't know. I thought he was hurt. I might be wrong on that. But the Pro Bowler, Drew Dahlman, and then Darnell Wright, who was an All-Pro this year. So you got a great offensive line for the Bears. The Packers is a little beat up. We'll see if Zach Tom's healthy. Not sure about Elton Jenkins. But they still have Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, and Sean Ryan. And then for the Bears, their secondary's been amazing. Kevin Byard turned back the clock. He had a great year. Sean Wright out of nowhere had an amazing year. Somehow didn't get an All-Pro or a Pro Bowl selection. That's wild to me. Jaquan Brisker has been really solid this year. You got Jalen Johnson back. And then you got the great linebacking duo of Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. And then the pass rush with the veteran Grady Jarrett, Montez Sweat, who is still amazing as ever, um, Dexter. I thought there was somebody else that I'm missing on the defensive line. I don't know. Maybe that's it. That's it, I think. I don't remember. But the Bears, this should be a close game, but they're playing in Chicago, and the Bears, even though they lost to the Lions, and they didn't look that good through the first three quarters, although the fourth quarter was what the Bears have been all year, amazing. Um, I think they'll win comfortably because the lack of Micah Parsons for the Packers um, is going to be a problem. I think the lack of getting pressure on the quarterback for Green Bay will be an issue that shows up throughout this game. Because Rashawn Gary got a lot of sacks to begin the season. He hasn't got, I think, any in months. And I don't know who the next best pass rusher is for Green Bay after him. Lucas Van Ness? Is it Kingsley? I can't say his name. Egenbari? I don't know. They're going to need a massive game from their defensive stars that they got left. Edric Cooper, Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, Rashawn Gary. They're going to need a big game from those players on defense to keep them alive. Have them do what the Bears could not do in the first three quarters against them in the Chicago game, which I think they would have won if Jordan Love didn't get hurt. So I am going to pick the Bears to win, but I don't know. There is a world where the Packers can win if their defense steps up and plays like how they did, and Jordan Love has a masterclass performance like he did against the Steelers earlier this year. So my picks to win in the wild card for the NFC, it's Seattle with the bye. They'll go against the Rams, and then the Bears and Eagles will meet up again. So now we'll go to the NFC divisional round, where first we have, for the third time this year, the Seahawks and the Rams meeting up. This one will be in Seattle, obviously because the Seahawks are the 1 seed. And the last time we were in Seattle, the Rams were up 30-13 in the fourth quarter. And they lost in overtime, 38-37, on a game-winning 2-point conversion catch by Eric Saubert. Eric Saubert, the backup tight end, made the winning play. Ugh. I still can't believe he did that. But these two teams have been really locked at the hip. They've been really close this year. Whenever they've played, it's been great games. The Rams beat them. Like Sam Darnold has struggled against the Rams. He struggled in both games against the Rams. He threw 6 interceptions to the Rams this year. But that comeback in the fourth quarter, in the second game in Seattle, was pretty masterful by them. That also was aided by a Rashid Shaheed special teams touchdown. And it's been really close games. The Rams won by 2 in LA. Seattle won by 1 in Seattle. And I think this game's going to be no different. This is the first time that the Seahawks and the Rams are playing each other in the playoffs in Seattle since the 2020 season. And that was the season that was the game where Jared Goff was not starting. It was Jeff Driscoll, or not Jeff Driscoll. I don't know. It was somebody. Or John Wolford. That's who it was. And then Wolford got hurt. He got concussed. They brought Goff in. And with 9 working fingers, because he had a thumb injury at the time, he beat the Seahawks. But that was a different time, and this is a different team for both teams. Seattle, their defense, I nicknamed them the Seattle Sledgehammers, kind of keeping it different from the Legion of Boom. I want to keep it different because, there's no one on the Legion of Boom on this Seattle defense. And this Seattle team is hard-hitting, and sledgehammer is a hard-hitting word, so Yeah, Seattle Sledgehammers. You got the secondary of Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen, and Devon Witherspoon. And then you also got on the linebacking side, you got Ernest Jones, who's been great. Um, who else do they got? Um, you also got on the front lines in the trenches Leonard Williams, Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe. Like there has been a lot of great play by this Seattle defense. And once again, I think this game will be close. These are two high powered offenses going up against two great defenses. So I think it's going to be a close game, 20 plus points scored by each team. But because it's in Seattle and we know how raucous that Seattle crowd can get in the postseason, I'm going to pick the Seahawks to make it to the NFC Championship game. I don't know. I just think I think it's I think it's their time to get through. I think this time they'll overcome the Rams and get to the NFC Championship game. And now we'll go to the second game of the NFC divisional round, where it's the Bears hosting the Eagles. Obviously, these two teams played in Philly, and the Bears won on the road. And that game was close throughout the entire way, but the Bears pulled through in the fourth. And this game is in Chicago this time, where they'll have the home crowd on their side, unlike where they didn't in Philadelphia. And I think this Bears defense can match up well against the struggling Eagles offense. But the Eagles, if they can look like how they did when they went on the Super Bowl run last season, I think they can go all the way again. But something about this Bears team, it's really fun. They got confidence. They got a great vibe over there in Chicago. I don't know. It's saying something to me. It's saying they're destined for a deep playoff run. And I think the Bears will knock out the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round in Chicago. And the Bears will go to the NFC Championship game, where they'll head to Seattle and play Seattle. So now we'll go to the NFC Championship game, where it's the Bears going into Seattle, the 2 seed versus the 1 seed in the NFC. Two really great teams. One team who has been really dominant all year. Another team who has been the king of comeback wins. That being the Bears, of course. And I think this would be a fun game between the Seahawks and the Bears. I think it's going to be really close the entire way, I think. Well, I don't know. Both teams, they have a great offense and they have a great defense, as does, really, honestly, every team besides the injury-rattled teams that are deeper in seeding. But I think the Seahawks are the better team against the Bears by a wide margin. And I think Seattle, if this is the true NFC Championship game, in their house, I think they would rout the Bears in this NFC Championship game, hypothetical. And I think coming out of the NFC, heading to Santa Clara, the Seahawks will go to the Super Bowl. I have the Seahawks being the NFC champions this year and heading to the Super Bowl. Now, let's go over to the AFC side and go to the wild card round, where the first game is the Monday night game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans, as we're a half an hour away from kickoff of Rams Panthers as I'm recording this. Ooh, I gotta hurry up. Um, so the Steelers, they just got into the playoffs after Tyler Loop missed that game-winning field goal at the end that would have sent the Ravens to the playoffs in the 4 seed had they made it, but they didn't. And the Steelers, they played great in the fourth quarter. Their offense did, surviving every blow that the Ravens team came at them with. But they got to face a monstrous Houston Texans team that is red hot, 9 wins in a row. And I'm not going to spend much time on this. I think the Texans are going to really destroy the Steelers on Monday night in Pittsburgh. I think their defense is going to be too much to handle for Aaron Rodgers. I think Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are going to get to him really good. I think Jalen Petrie, Kamari Lassner, Derek Stingley, Kalen Bullock, one of those 4 will have an interception or 2 in this game coming up on Monday. And then I think Azeez Al-Shire will wreak havoc as well, getting some TFLs in the run game. And I think C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, they'll link up a bunch in this game. Maybe also Dalton Schultz will have a really good game as well. And I think the Texans are going to level the Steelers on Monday night to move on to the divisional round. Now we got another AFC South team who has not been to the Super Bowl in their lifetime. The Jags hosting the Bills on Sunday afternoon. And the Bills, they are a very weird team. They have also been really injury prone. They don't have Ed Oliver for most of the playoff run. Matt Milano has been back and forth on the field and off the field with injuries. Same with Joey Bosa. You can really say that with a lot of the Bills guys, minus Christian Benford, I think. Well, maybe not Christian Benford. I don't know. I think Taron Johnson's been injured too. I don't think Cole Bishop's been injured, though. Maybe him. But this Bills team, they are really top heavy, and their offense is really between Josh Allen and James Cook. I think they're going to have to run the ball against the Jags defense because Jacksonville has a really good team. They have a really good defense as well. But I think it's going to be a lot of James Cook. I think it's going to be the Bills trying to grind and slow their way down the field, try and slow the game down, give as little time to the Jacksonville offense on the field. And I think that's what the Bills' game plan will be. We know what Josh Allen can be. We know what James Cook is. But besides that, on their receivers, it's just a revolving door. Like, they still need a number 1 receiver, in my opinion, even though they've gotten the playoffs still so many years in a row. But their best wide receiver is Khalil Shakir, I guess I want to say. And I just don't think that's a good enough winning formula for the Bills. And then their defense has been decent against the pass, but struggled against the run. And the Jags have a really great running back on the other side, and Travis Etienne, who's had a great bounce back here. Trevor Lawrence has been nuts recently in this run to the AFC South title for the Jags. the trade for Jacoby Myers has really, really worked out. Jacoby Myers has been absolutely phenomenal since he's been a Jaguar. Parker Washington has really stepped up recently, as well as Brendan Strange. Um, then you got um, Brian Thomas Jr.'s had a disappointing second year, but that's okay if Washington and Myers are doing as well as they are. And then you got the offensive line for Jacksonville, who I think is going to be really, really pivotal for the Jags this game because they're going to need to do some good blocking because I think Travis Etienne is going to have a big game this game because I think they're going to really run the offense through him since they know the Bills can't stop the run that well. Um, and that offensive line, led by Cole Van Lane, is going to be really, really blocking. And then you got the defense. The secondary has been great. Jerry Jones is a phenomenal year. Antonio Johnson's been really great. You got Andrew Wingard, Greg Newsome, who they got in the trade with Cleveland. You got them as well, who are playing pretty good football. And then you got in the middle, you got Devin Lloyd, who has been amazing. Josh Hines Allen, who's been good as good. You got Devon Hamilton as a defensive lineman as well. He's played great. Trayvon Walker's had a disappointing year, but he could still find a way to make something happen, I think. And of course, you got the tackling machine on the Jaguars defense. You got Foye Oluokun, man in the middle with Devin Lloyd. So this Jags defense, I think, is going to need to play a really great game, obviously, because Josh Allen can be a one-man wrecking crew at times. But I think, and what I think is going to be a shootout, I think the Bills' inability to stop Travis Etienne, who I think is going to have an amazing day, is going to be the Bills' downfall. And I think the Jags are going to beat the Bills just like they did in the 2017 playoff run in Jacksonville in the wild card round, and they'll move on to the divisional round. Now, let me get a drink. We got the Sunday night game in the wild card round. The Chargers going to the Foxborough, where the Patriots are hosting their first playoff game ever since the end of the Tom Brady era, so 2020. 2019 season, 2020 was the year because January. But the Patriots, they have had a great year. Drake May has played at an MVP level. Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson's been a great 1-2 punch out of the backfield. And then Stephon Diggs has been a revelation with Drake May. Still have Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas as well. And then offensive line's been solid. You can see the real bromance between Will Campbell and Drake May. Mike Owenu, I can't say his name at all. He's been really good as well. And then you got the defense, which has some question marks. Hopefully there are guys getting back healthy. Harold Landry, Robert Spillane, which have been two of the best Patriots defenders this year. They were injured in last week's game. Hopefully they'll be back for tomorrow night's game against the Chargers. Marcus Jones has had a great year. You got Jalen Hawkins, Craig Woodson on the secondary, as well as, I forgot, Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. You got them as well. They're two best corners. Carlton Davis has had a lot of experience in the playoffs. I believe, yeah, he's a Super Bowl champion. He won it with Tampa when Brady came there. And then you also got on the defensive line with Harold Landry. You got Milton Williams has been good. Kairos Tonga has been great. Um, and Calevon Chaison's really revitalized his career in New England this year as well. But the Chargers, they're going to be a tough out, I think. Justin Herbert had a really great year. Omarion Hampton's picked it up. Lab McConkey has been really good again. Quentin Johnson. Keenan Allen's picked up where he left off with the Chargers. Gadsden's been good for LA, the tight end. But their offensive line has really taken a lot of hits. They lost Joe Alt for the year. They lost Rashawn Slater for the year. They are really missing them because the rest of the offensive line, Zion Johnson, Trey Pipkins, Bradley Bozeman, they haven't played to the level they're capable of this year. And it's really unfortunate to see. So with this really good Patriots defensive line, this really shaky Chargers offensive line, I think that's what's going to win the Patriots the game because I think they're going to have Justin Herbert running for his life, and they'll shut down Omarion Hampton, I think. Also for the Chargers, the loss of Najee Harris for the year really hurts as well in this situation. But I think because the Patriots defensive line will win the battle in the trenches, in my opinion, they will win this game and move on to the divisional round. So I have the Patriots, Jags, and Texans winning the wild card weekend and the Broncos getting through because they are the 1 seed. Now, let's go to the divisional round where first we have the 1-seeded Broncos versus the 5-seeded Texans. These two teams met up in Houston. This is my opinion and my opinion only. The Texans defense was winning this game for Houston until C.J. Stroud got knocked out of the game with that concussion. That's how the Broncos won the game, was Stroud getting hurt and them being able to stop Davis Mills. Well, I don't think that's going to happen again here. And this game is going to be played in Denver. This is the first time the Broncos have hosted a playoff game in a decade since the Super Bowl run, the AFC Championship, back when Manning was the quarterback. It's been a long time coming for the Broncos, but they have a really great team. Bo Nix has been great. J.K. Dobbins was great until he got hurt. And R.J. Harvey has stepped up really well. Cortland Sutton's had a great year. Marvin Mims hasn't had the receiving production, but he's been great in special teams. Evan Ingram has not had the best year, but then their offensive line has been really good, led by Garrett Bowles and Quinn Meinertz. Hopefully they can get Luke Wattenberg back before this game, their star center. And then the defense, which I coined the nickname the Denver Demolition Crew. They have a really, really, really great defensive lineup. Zach Allen, he can get to the quarterback from the middle. Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, the edge rushers. You got Alex Singleton leading the way for the linebackers up the middle with Justin Sternad. And then that's secondary with Pat Surtain, Brandon Jones, who might be injured because I know he did go on IR. Hopefully he'll be back. And then Talanoa Hufanga, who has been really good as well. Speaking of the signings from the 49ers in the offseason, Drake Greenlaw really has not been the best with Denver. And also Riley Moss, he's had an inconsistent year. He's had great plays. He's been penalized a ton of times. So I think that C.J. Stroud will be picking on Riley Moss and not really going towards Surtain. So Riley Moss is going to need to step up for this game. And then the Texans, which they're led by their defense, which I call the Raging Bulls. That's my nickname for Houston's defense, the Raging Bulls. Even though this is the offensive line that gave up the least amount of sacks in football this year, they didn't have to face two monsters on each side of the edges from Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. It's been a minute since they've played them, and sorry, I was just watching Jared Verse get fired up. And I think because they're two game wreckers on each side of the edges, they're going to get to Bo Nix a lot. But once again, I think their secondary, which I think is the best secondary in the league, is going to make some plays. I could see Derek Stingley getting the pick. I could see Jalen Petrie laying out some big hits, forcing fumbles. I think Kamari Lassiter could get some PBUs and maybe a pick, and I think Kalen Bullock could end up with 2 picks by the end of that night. So I honestly think the Texans' defense will be disruptive. This game will be close, but something's telling me that the Red Hot Texans, they're a Super Bowl caliber team. And I think the Houston Texans, who I believe have never been to an AFC Championship game, will go to their first AFC Championship game this year. They will beat the Broncos in a big way and really give question marks to Denver in the offseason. So the Texans will go to the AFC Championship game. Now, you got the Patriots hosting the Jaguars. The Patriots, when they have played against good teams, which has not been many occasions, they have played pretty well. I mean, they beat Buffalo once. They beat Baltimore. They lost to Buffalo in their house. But they haven't played the greatest teams. Like, I think them playing the Chargers is in the wild card round is going to be the best team they have played all season long. But I said they were going to survive that, but now they got to go against a even better Jacksonville Jaguars team, and Drake May, to his credit, this Patriots team, which has been led by Mike Vrabel, this game will probably determine the coach of the year between Mike Vrabel and Liam Cohen, who have both been phenomenal coaches this year. And I think that will determine coach of the year for if this game does end up happening. So this is like the first time that Drake May and the Patriots have faced a true Super Bowl caliber team, in my opinion. At least in the AFC side. I don't know if they played anybody in the NFC side. And the Jaguars, they've played against great competition. They've beaten the Broncos. They have beaten the Texans. They've also lost to the Texans. They also played the Colts when the Colts were really good to start the year, among other teams that I can't think of right now. They beat the Niners. I remember that. But because the Patriots haven't played in many close game situations. Drake May has excelled in 2 of the 3, but those were both on the road. The one time where he didn't play great in a late game close situation where the Patriots were down 2 times actually was at home. That's when they lost to Pittsburgh earlier in the year and they lost to Buffalo. Both times is when the Patriots lost in a close game situation was at home. I think that's going to happen again. I think this game's going to be close, but I think Jacksonville will have the lead late and their defense will make a play that will win them the game against the Patriots on the road and send them to their first AFC Championship game since they played the Patriots and lost to the Patriots in the 2017-18 playoffs. And that would mean that it's an AFC South divisional, 2 AFC South teams in the AFC Championship game who have never been to the Super Bowl in their franchise history meeting up. I have the Texans and the Jags in the AFC Championship game, Jacksonville hosting Houston. Now, in that game, all the way back in September, that was in week 4, the Jags won the game thanks to Josh Hines-Allen tipping the ball from C.J. Stroud and Antonio Johnson catching the ricochet to seal the game with a game-winning interception. This game will be close. This game will be won by a defense. These two teams have had really great defenses this year. Their offensive lines, I think, will determine who wins this game. The Texans have not had the best offensive line, of course. They traded Laramie Tunsil away, but it hasn't mattered. They've still beaten everyone they have faced. Ever since C.J. Stroud got hurt and Davis Mills had to come in and he won 3 in a row, which one of those games was against Jacksonville. So, C.J. Stroud has only seen Jacksonville one time, and that was all the way back in September in Jacksonville. So, that would make you think that I'm leaning towards the Jags. Well, I don't think so. I think the Texans, they're ready for this matchup again. They beat Jacksonville at home with that great comeback win where they scored 20-something unanswered points in the fourth quarter and held Jacksonville scoreless. I think that the Texans' defense will play better than the Jags' defense, and the Texans' offense will do just enough against Jacksonville that they will go to the Super Bowl for the first time ever. And I will pick the Houston Texans as a wild card team to make the Super Bowl and be the AFC champions. They will be playing the Seattle Seahawks in Santa Clara for the honors to be Super Bowl champions. And like I said before, it's what I said before. Defense, defense, defense. That's what this game is going to be determined by. Defense. It's going to be a defensive game. It's going to be close. Stroud, Darnold, the offenses, they're going to have to step up. You have great receivers, JSN and Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed. The Texans receivers is Nico Collins. I don't think they'll have Tank Dell. I don't think he's going to be ready in time. But the Texans, essentially their second best receiver is Dalton Schultz, the tight end. I mean, it's worked. It's worked. They've won 9 in a row, and in my opinion, it'll be 12 in a row if they get to the Super Bowl. The Seahawks have been probably the best team in the NFL this year. But the Texans are not far behind them, in my opinion. And this game will be determined by which defense will make a ton of plays. I think Leonard Williams will get a couple of sacks. Uchenna Nwosu, I think, will add one. Maybe Boye Mafe bats down to pass. Ernest Jones has double-digit tackles. Maybe a couple for a loss as well. Devon Witherspoon makes some great plays. Reek Woolen blankets the field. Maybe Julian Love can get a pass breakup, and Kobe Bryant can get an interception or two. And then their offense, like Sam Darnold will link up with JSN a lot, find A.J. Barner, find Cooper Kupp on some massive third downs, and Rashid Shaheed will be a deep threat at times. But the Texans, I think they can respond as well. Oh, I forgot to mention Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, their rushing attack. But I think the Texans, they can match up to anybody well. I think that C.J. Stroud can play really great. Woody Marks can run the ball really well. Collins and Schultz can do good. The offensive line can pick up the Seahawks' pressure, which I think Seattle's offensive line can do as well. You know, they have Charles Cross. Hopefully he'll be back for the playoffs. Gray Zabel as a rookie's been great. Abraham Lucas. Seattle's got guys on the offensive line, which wasn't the case a few years ago. But the Texans' defense, I think, will also be really good. You know, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter making plays. Tommy Togiai could get in there. Stuff the run. Azeez Al-Shire get a bunch of tackles. Henry To'oTo'o as well. And then what I think is going to really determine the winner of the Super Bowl is how the Texans secondary plays, because I don't think I've seen a secondary in my lifetime that's all four of their starters each have 4+ interceptions. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And they also can lock people up. Lassiter and Stingley on the sides. Jalen Petrie in his guardian cap can knock people out, bring big hits. Kalen Bullock is jumping through the air, catching interceptions. Their secondary is nasty, man. It's really good. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Seattle's secondary. It's great as well, but I think this Texans secondary it's just going to find another level, I think. I think they can get to a level that Seattle can't. And I think the Texans will play better than the Seahawks in this hypothetical Super Bowl. And for the first time ever, in their first ever Super Bowl, I have the Houston Texans winning it all. I think they will go all the way. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl and shock the world. But that's my opinion. I think the Texans are going to go all the way. I think they'll beat the Seahawks in a really close and fun Super Bowl. That's defensive. That's a defensive battle. And yeah, I think this year it's the Texans' year out of the wild card spot. I think they go all the way and upset the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. So that's my playoff predictions for the NFL this year. I got the Texans beating the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, like I said. Thank you all for watching. See you all later. RVL. Peace.